You good? We good?
I'm good. I'm
You
good.
ready to start?
Yes,
A ver
sir.
que, oh, actually, you know what? Before we actually do want to check on Facebook, see what we were doing today. Remember we had the little memory segment.
Bro, we did. Damn, let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see if it's appropriate, Joe.
Let's see what's actually appropriate on.
Oh, dude, I don't have shit. Oh, yeah, I do.
Oh man, I let's see. Um, man, I don't. I mean, obviously during this time, this is the first year we haven't done it. Dude, actually, and I think this is first and foremost for people to know, like, we've been talking about Miss Mac, our white mama, right? And around the holidays, every year since we've graduated, since 2009, we've had Thanksgiving at her house, like Friendsgiving. Like we were the OGs of Friendsgiving, but it was our own Thanksgiving, and this is the first year we didn't get a chance to do it because of the current state
COVID.
of COVID. Unfortunately, she made the right call. Obviously, not because there's like maybe 8 or 9 of us that come together. And earlier years, it was we were mostly all single, and we'll just roll together. All it was literally just 9, and but as we've gone over, obviously it's been almost a decade, if not no, it's been at least a decade.
I
We've
wasn't
all
single, bro. I can't agree with that, Joe. She'll come for me, man.
Well, the first year, yeah, the first year, 2009, yeah, we, it
Oh,
was,
you're right. You're right. You're
you
right.
know,
2009.
2009, 2010, at least, I think, for sure, at least,
Okay,
at
yeah,
least
bro.
one
I
of
was
those years.
single. I
Yeah,
was
but
single, ready to mingle.
ready to mingle with some Pringles. But we've had but every year we would go to Miss Max, and we had our Thanksgiving, and it was our second family, right? It is our second family, and so we've done it every year, leading up to even last year. We had it, and then obviously over the years, as most of us, we've grown, become adults, had families, significant others, babies and what have you. Everybody, our family our immediate family gets invited, as well, and so we grew. I mean, I don't remember how many of us were last year, honestly. But at least for sure, everybody came with a plus one, so that would give us at least 16 to 17 people. Right. And so, but this year was the first year in over a little bit over a decade that we have not met with Miss Mac. And all of us. So I think that's a big one for sure. Because that was, I think, very important for us. It's always been important for us because we've always had an opportunity to come together because all of us were doing something. I know in the earlier years you were out in A&M, so being able to come up here when you could, right? And then for everybody else to connect too. So it was really, really neat. So that's actually what my Facebook is reminding me of, other than my awkward typing in 2008, which means I was first I was a senior in at Adamson. I don't know why I was a senior at Adamson and had access to Facebook because my writing, I used to, how you write that E, I would write it with a 3 and then all caps.
That's part of the passwords.
Right. But yeah, so that's what my Facebook has, man. What about yours? What is yours saying?
It's whenever I messed up my middle toe with my senior boots.
Ooh.
That was 8 years ago.
Hey.
And then 3 years ago is whenever I recorded my little sister. I think it was whenever she was probably when she cut herself.
Oh
When I
snap.
was doing those scary videos, Joe.
Oh.
Yeah, it's oh man, scary times. Dude, that was three
Hey,
years ago.
3 years ago.
Damn, she's over here. Yeah, it would so whenever she would read a note about it's okay, be yourself and cut yourself, something like that. Well, she didn't cut herself for real. This was a little video project that I was doing that it got too scary for me to continue. It was really messing with my with my head, so I had to stop before I went extra crazy.
Your own project, man. Sometimes it be like that. Our own projects, our own thoughts, and get to us like that. But yeah, I think again we'd like to welcome everyone back to episode 8 of Between Two Borders. My name is Joe Misael Posada Triana,
My name is Anacleto Giovanni Contreras.
and we're definitely excited to be here with you all. I know it's been a decent break unexpected break to say the least on my end for sure. But we're glad that we're definitely be able to come back, be here. Hopefully you're enjoying. If what was that what was that one that I said? If anyone's out there listening, we appreciate you for listening for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think our last episode we had a really great conversation with Frank. I think the last one was like I am Frank May, so it was really really great having him join us because I mean we all went to high school together and we've known each other for a long time, so it was really really great. I provided some amazing insight in just life experience, right? From we all have different paths that we've taken after high school, and to be able after a decade to still be in communication with folks, I think that's really really neat. And then also to at least to be able for sure to call as a friend, and I think that's something that's really neat. Also because it's those are our life friendships, acquaintances, and relationships that we get to carry with ourselves, because it's one of those things that especially in again with COVID, we all of us are all some shape or form working from home, or quarantined or staying in, and so I think being able to have those relationships and those friendships for sure carry a long way for sure. So I think again, we it was really neat. We got a chance to cover a lot of things. And man, I don't even know where to begin. Where should we even start with what we covered with him?
So I was just gonna just give him praise, Joe, because I think he's our number one fan, bro. I think
Right, man. That's
if no one else listens, we know Frank will be listening to this episode.
So this is about you, Frank, part two, man. Who is Frank May, right?
But no, Joe, but it was very eye opening, and I think I sent him a message earlier, just thanking him for that, right? And for the fact that whenever we were in high school, Joe, we really didn't see each other as human beings. We didn't see each other with pains, with suffering, with really anything going on, Joe. We just saw him as as Joe, as Frank, as Anacleto, happy Joe, happy Anacleto, happy Frank, right? We were always laughing, smiling, doing mischievous things, sometimes good things, volunteer, we did a lot of good stuff together, but we never really opened up and truly allowed us to be vulnerable and see what we were dealing with, right? And I
Mm.
think that's powerful. And I mean, not everyone, well, not nowadays. I feel like our youth opens up more about what they're going in what's going on at home to an extent. But it's good knowing how we impacted one another, and how we allowed each other to play an important role in having us continue to survive whatever we were dealing with, Joe. I think that was one of the most important things with that, and just like, dang, like I didn't, like, like I didn't know, and vice versa, right? He's like, damn, I didn't know this from about your life, about this. And I think that's the most powerful thing, that we just being truthful with each other, even if it was 10 plus years or however how many years it was, Joe. It's just like thanking each other and acknowledging each other for having that positive attribute, on each other's lives. Because I mean, we were cool, Joe, but like, I didn't know what a lot of stuff you were dealing with, Joe, and I'm pretty sure there was more stuff that you were dealing with that you didn't share it, and and me as well. And for Frank to come in and telling us about why he did certain things, right? I think that was powerful, Joe. And I mean, we could begin anywhere. I mean, I think I think it was powerful for those that haven't listened to that episode. I mean, listen to it before you listen to this
Continue,
one. Yeah.
continue listening to this one. This is a good time to pause, go to the previous episode, and get some great insight. Because I know you're right. I think it was really really good to hear him talk for sure.
So who is Frank May? Well, Frank May, I mean, we're gonna tell you who Frank May is to us. I mean, he's a good friend. I mean, he's a survivor. I mean, he's an entrepreneur. He's an individual that continues giving back to the community. He has his own gym. And besides that, I mean, I think that's his passion. I mean, I would not say that that's his business. You know, that's his passion. That's what he loves doing. And then from that, I mean, you know, he loves to cook, right? He has a big heart for the community, for the food as well, and just gives back, you know, to the community. He sometimes holds free lessons. Well, he used to host free lessons for people. I don't think, you know, COVID has allowed him to do that, but now he engages more on helping, you know, feed those that need it, Joe. But you know, it's just a wonderful person that you all need to meet. What's his Instagram, Joe?
Yeah, so I'm looking. So I mean, obviously, you know, he's a couple. So going back to the main things that you definitely hitting. You know, he has his fitness studio down in Oak Cliff, near the Bishop Arts area for sure. So that one is Core Fitness Dallas, at Core Fitness Dallas. So you can definitely follow that. Some of the work that he's doing there with his other trainers and himself, and some of the clients, and some of the progress that is done. Then you have others that have done also. He has food, I think, like, you know, the cooking and what have you, what allows him to do the cooking and all that. So it's the free bean, at the free bean, on Instagram, and then you can always follow him at Frank Made Fitness as well. So that's something that you'll definitely be able to catch him on Instagram. And but you're right, like, I think that's really neat, like, and I think, you know, when we talk about passion, it's always oftentimes difficult to find what that passion is for a lot of us, because oftentimes our passion, we've been doing it for so long that it's difficult for us to identify because we've been so close to it. And I think he was able to identify that early on in his high school career. But I think it really took off when he went off to college, when he was away, you know, trying to do his, you know, doing his own thing, and then realizing, like, man, like, sports is what I enjoy, but fitness, you know, it's is really where it's at. And I think that's something that he's been able to understand, to break down, to understand himself, and then executing it. And like mentioned, like, you know, he's an entrepreneur and he may have his businesses here and there, but at the end of the day, it's not a business. Like you mentioned, it's his passion.
No, and I mean, one of the other things that we could hit on is, you know, Frank May. You know, he went to UT Austin, same year as we did. You know, we were from the same graduating class, same high school. I don't think we went with him. I don't even think we asked him what middle school or elementary school he
Basically, we-
attended. Which, I mean, we'll follow up with him some other time. But you know, he went to UT Austin. You know, I went A&M, and then, you know, Joe went to UTD. So we were all over the place, you know, just because, I mean, we're that different type of person. But one of the things that, you know, he mentioned is he didn't, you know, finish his college degree, right? And for some it might be a shocker, right? Like, you know, why would Frank not continue? And you know, that's one of the things we talked about, right? And he talked about that he was, if he continued, you know, he was only doing himself more harm, right? He
Mhm.
talked about the low grade, and you know, which many of that are different attributes that you know we talked about. You know, having a support system, you know, at the college that you're going to, not understanding how to communicate with your professors, how to, you know, reach out for help, basically. And you know, he didn't continue, but you know, during those 3 years of his life, he found his calling. And I think that's, I would say that's more valuable than a college degree, you know, because you know we have people, you know, having all these degrees, all these titles, but you know, the passion is really what determines, you know, who they really are, right? Because I could have a college degree but be a jerk, and you know, still trying to figure out myself, or you know, whatever I'm doing a disservice to me and to the people that I lead. But he found out his calling, Joe, and he came back to the community that saw him grow, and is giving back to that same community, right? And you know, we sometimes are pushing for students to go and pursue a higher education, but we really never are pushing kids to understand their passion or their true calling. And you know, I think we are creating more individuals that go and struggle, you know, somewhat like Frank, you know, go and get lost in the system of trying to defeat the same system, right? And you know, some of them, don't end up figure out what they want to do. Some, them drop out and just come back and, continue that circle of their parents, right? And some others like Frank come back and says, I learned, I'm gonna accept, this little temporary defeat, but I learned, and this is what I learned, right? And he learned a lot, Joe. I mean, he got some business. Yeah, I can't
Right.
say I got a business. Like, dang, I don't even know how I would, manage a business. That's a big accomplishment, Joe. Like,
No,
he
for sure.
learned.
No, and I know, like, again, like, and I think, like, if I remember correctly, I think for him, like it's like he understood, and he's like, you know what, this is not for me right now. This is not where I need to be. And to be that self-aware, for some of us it takes a while to be there, but to be able to identify and understand that, for him it was like, hey, like, I need to stop. This is where I need to stop right now. And because I know he still has aspirations to go back and finish, because, like, now he knows, the where he is, what space he is in, to be able, that is going to allow him to continue, and I think that that's important to address, because oftentimes, like it's, pursuing a higher education, pursuing a post-secondary education is not a race. It's not something that needs to be done in 4 years, or if you're an overachiever trying to get it in three, or a double major as soon as you, as no as there is you're doing it at your own pace. Because at the end of the day is like that saying, the blood, sweat, and tears is the ones that you're doing, right? Like it's understanding that. And for some of us, we'll get to do it sooner rather than later, and for others it's going to be, what, I had to take a break, but in that meantime, what do you do that in the in between time, right? And I think what he's been able to do, again, it's that understanding, that passion. And then for some of us, again, I have a very good friend of mine, and which also, he's my supervisor. Like, he talks about, like, be able to find that passion, drawing to that, like, that passion is, like, you're living life with a purpose, and I think that's important, because, like, having identified that and understanding what is your purpose in life, I think that's ultimately, like, you have it down, you know what you're supposed to be doing. And I think that's something that, again, it oftentimes takes time, and it's okay to take that time. And I think that's something that, again, he learned quickly, and I don't think he ever sees that as a failure. Like, even from our conversation, I don't think he sees himself that, like, oh, I failed at that. Like, no, like, I just took a break. I'm just pausing, building what I need to build for myself and for the community ultimately. And then I think, again, going back to, like, even our experiences as well, like, for us, like, when we're pursuing something, we oftentimes find ourselves, like, struggling, right? And sometimes we feel defeated, but, being able to understand that, even failing or being defeated, like, it's a learning opportunity, because we get to take a step back, assess what happened, what went wrong, what did I do wrong, when, more importantly, what did I do right, and then from those things, and then it's like, okay, so how, moving forward, what can we do to tweak things here and there? Because, we don't have a blueprint of what is success in life, right? How does success look like, and what have you. And at one point in your life do you determine success, because, if we did, like, it would be a cookie cutter type of thing, right? But I think for us, like, being able to accomplish the things that we did, you know just by being able to graduate from high school was a huge accomplishment for us, because just, it's a generational thing. My parents unfortunately didn't get an opportunity to finish high school on my end, so for them, to see me, see their son, being able, like, oh, like, he was able to do it great, and then continuing on. So I think that was, good, and going back to what you've mentioned, we're educated, we've gone, we've been able to earn our degrees, but at the end of the day, the degrees is what you do with them. We can know a lot of people that have degrees and they're still trying to figure out themselves out. And then we have people that for them is like, oh, like, I knew that it wasn't for me. I have a good friend of mine that he himself as well, he after high school, like, he was like, I'm also, like, I'm an entrepreneur, like, I like the business side of it, and so this is what I learned. And from, I remember, from working in Subway to running their own, shops, Metro PCS and what have you, like, that for them, that's, they've been able to fully understand what they need to do. And for them, like, now they're like, okay, like, when they decide to go back to school, they're like, I know what to focus on because I've already identified the things that I'm interested in and the passion. And oftentimes, because I know when I went to college, man, like I majored in emerging media and communications, which is for us is like understanding like social media platforms, graphic design, web design, photography, film, all that good stuff. Am I doing that right now? No. My passion lies in higher ed and education, but I'm taking what I learned in that degree, especially now in COVID. It's like I'm everything that I learned in undergrad is being applied to what I do in my everyday work life. And I think that that's valuable. And I mean, I didn't get a chance to. I mean, by the time I realized that I was learning or studying and majoring in something that I enjoyed as a hobby and not as a passion, it would have been too late for me. Like, because had I changed my major to maybe interdisciplinary studies to follow, education or what have you, man, that would have taken me another 2 years at least to graduate, right? So for me, it was like, okay, how do I make this work? And I had that experience. So I think that's important to know that it's like, I think we set up a lot of expectations for our high school students and just for young kids to understand like, oh, you need to figure out what you need to what you want to be in life. I'm like, man, like there's adults right now that I know that are older than I am, and they still don't know, and it's okay. It's as long as you're learning and growing. I think that that's the important part for sure.
It's not okay, Joe.
Right. Right.
No.
Yeah. As long as you have a plan, I think at the end of the day, right? Like it's having that plan, like, and I think that's the important part, like having a plan. It's what's going to help a lot. And however, even if that plan is just simple as doing research and learning and growing as an individual, ultimately is going to help you find what our passion is and what we can do in your eyes closed, in your sleep. You like, I can do this, like nothing, right?
Yeah. No, no, it's something that I think there's a quote. I don't know who says it, but it says that um, you will never understand what success is unless or until you fail. And it's always fun, having those little hiccups in your life because, like you
Yeah.
said, you're able to regroup and adjust and continue. And for me, I mean, I told Frank that, like, man, I wish I was self-aware during that time, right? Understanding who I wanted to be, or more especially who I was and
Mhm.
who I did not want to be, right? And that's powerful. As a what he was probably like what 1920, Joe, or 20,
Probably, yeah.
around there. I mean, that's like unheard of individual to be self-aware to that extent, right? I'm close to 30, and I'm sort of kind of understanding, my, of course, I mean, I know my passion. I mean, we've been in our passion for a while, but understanding who I am and who I don't want to be, it's
Mhm.
still, I think, that, like you said, Joe, is having a plan, right? Because I mean, we have people that are 50, doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. What did they say? That's the definition of insanity. I mean, make sure you have a plan, and understand that plans always have to change. And they change because, I mean, that's life. You will be in different seasons. Like Joe mentioned, like Joe mentioned, like you mentioned, Joe, about your
Speaking in third party
degree,
now.
right? Right, your degree. I mean, who knew you were gonna need it, right? Who knew we were gonna have COVID, Joe, right? And to many, Joe is a professional. Like, man, Joe, you used to do this. I mean, yeah, I studied it. Who
I
knew
studied it right
I was
10 years
gonna,
ago.
I was gonna put it on my bookshelf and use it, right?
Right.
And I think that's life. Every experience that you have will present a solution in the near future. I mean, and to me, that's karma. Like, I feel that that's karma. Karma is whatever you give to life. Either positive or good. It will always come back and either hurt you or assist you, and not hurt you, but challenge you to change
Mhm.
your ways. But we were over here pushing, through college, because we didn't want to be, well, I didn't want to be labeled with an X and Y, failure and stuff like that. I guess my pride got the better of me, but like I said in the video, Joe, I think I hurt myself more wanting to graduate than actually dropping out and taking time to understand who the hell I was trying to prove, right? And
Mhm.
one of the things we always say is that I'm getting this degree from my family. Like, yeah, you're getting the degree to help your family, but at the end of the day, you're getting that degree for yourself. You are, causing X, Y, and Z, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are, causing anxiety, stress to yourself, not necessarily to your family, because I mean, they're really not feeling or gonna feel what you feel. And whatever you do, make sure it's in it would do you good, basically. I mean, don't try to do something that's gonna hurt you or kill
Mm-hmm.
you or destroy you, right? Because I mean, if you're doing something that's killing you, I mean, you're gonna be dead by the time you accomplish it, right? So do something that you enjoy, like Frank. I mean, he had to go through that to understand what he really enjoyed. And we all have to go through. Life is about suffering. I mean, if people tell you that you will never suffer in life, I mean, they're crazy. They're
Mm-hmm.
fools. They're fools for thinking that, because life will always be about suffering, right? If God blesses Joe got a little kid, but Joe's kid is not gonna suffer as Joe did, right? But he will still suffer. I mean, he's still gonna have his challenges, and that's fine. I mean, he has to grow and learn. And our youth right now, Joe, I mean, they're the first ones to do a lot of things. It's crazy,
Mm.
right? Every single year we have first generation students.
Right. No, and
And
yeah, like, and I think that like that's like two things. Like let's keep that one there because I definitely want to go to that. But before going that, like to your previous comment about like my like with my son, like I was there's a recent meme that came out maybe with like I probably not didn't come out last week, but I started noticing more on social media last week or the last 2 weeks about it says like, oh, like a study shows that our kids nowadays have it easier, right? And then people were like, well, isn't that the point? Like, isn't that the point of the next generation? And also it was a vague title too, right? Like I'm sure it was like a clickbait, but when you think about it, like I don't want to say that my son's gonna have an easier life because probably he won't, but he's not, but maybe he will, right? But at the end of the day, he's not gonna walk the same path I did.
yeah,
The same struggles that I personally had. He's gonna have his own struggles for sure. He's gonna have his own battles to fight, but he's gonna have his own accomplishments to celebrate, right? And but that's the whole idea. Because I didn't face the same struggles my parents did. You didn't, face
yeah,
the same struggles your parents did either. But that's the whole purpose. To for not that it's going to be easier on us, but for us to be able to experience something different. And ideally would be something that it's better, right? Not because and it's I'm always conflicted of using like, oh, living a better life, because that's just saying that in our parents' lives wasn't good, but they were, right? But it's like it's gonna be better in a way that it's like, oh, like it's because because of my parents' sacrifices, I didn't have to go through the things they did. Because of my sacrifices, my son is not gonna go, and my fiance's sacrifices, he's not gonna have to experience the things that we experience are going to be different things, and but knowing that that support and that foundational structure and support he's going to have now, right? Like, and I think Frank mentioned that in his, like, it's he had he had that support from his mom and and his brother, but when he was down in UT, like, it was like, what kind of support can I find for himself?
yeah,
Like, how do I navigate this process and what have you? And then when he decided to walk away and start his own fitness studio, like the same thing, he had a support. He was able to find key people that were able to not only introduce him to other important people, but also open doors for him. And in return, he's been able to do that for others too. And I think that's the important part. Like, that's what we're trying to do, for sure. Like, it's being able to create an experience that the next generation, it's going to be different for them, but they're still going to, I mean, again, at the end of the day, like, it's not going to be, it's not going to be something that's like they're going to walk through the exact same thing. Because in a way, like, as we identify mentors, or as we identify people that we look up to, we start looking at their blueprints, right? Like, we start looking how, like, when I look, how did my director become, and not my director rather, but my mentor, how did he become a director, at the age of 30, 31, right? How did they get there? It's like, oh, it was, they, connecting with people, doing the work, the experience, and this is the work that we're doing. How can I get there before, I'm 30, right? Or how did, X, Y, and Z. So I think that that's important to definitely to acknowledge and know. And then two, to your second point that you mentioned about, it looks like every year we have first gen, right? Like, I think it tells us, going back, I think we did this like in our one of our earlier I think it was like our third episode that we did, the top 10% fallacy episode, where we talk about, like, how statistics have not evolved with the times, or have not moved, progressed, right? When we look at, high school completion rates, and then college attainment rates, compared to, in 2009, and I think when we look at our graduating class, and there was a, what I think it went back 4% points. It went from 28 to 24%. And so we look again, and I think, and this hits, I think, another even episode like that we talk about, of accountability, that we talked about in one, and actually most of them, but if not, I know one of them we did for sure. But we talk about like how, we've had some organizations in place for so long, and to see that the statistics are not the needle's not being moved forward, but rather it's actually going back. It's like, we're not challenging those organizations to do more and be more for our students' sake, because, like, obviously, like, for those that are at those organizations working, or ourselves in the field, and this is even going back to the work that I personally do as well, is like I have to be that much more harder on myself, knowing that, that those completion rates from high school and attainment of post-secondary education is they're not aligned, they're going back. So from 28 to 24 and 10 in that 10-year span, is like, it's telling me that we're not doing enough, right? But then also too is understanding what the whole big picture is as well, because one thing is that we can be doing everything right in quotations, like, right, that what we think is right, but if we're not understanding what else is affecting our students, is it things at home, is it the support system? Is it, the campus environment? Things that Frank himself faced at UT, or things that you faced at A&M, or things that I faced at UTD. Those things. If we're not understanding those things, then how, like, we're also doing a disservice as well. So I think those are important, because again, like you mentioned, every year we're still gonna have first generation students. We're still gonna have students that walk the same path we did during their high school years, and are going to struggle. And so how can we affect and support them as well?
Yeah. No, I mean, things have changed. Things are changing at a very rapid pace, Joe. And I feel that every single year we are preparing our students for a pass, for a future that already passed, basically.
Hmm.
Right. We look at, COVID, and, how everything changed. Everything was so rapid. The change had to be rapid. And, our students, some were able to stay afloat, others were not, right? So how are we really preparing our students for a real future that is yet to come, right? Not a future that already passed. And I think that that whole framework is still in existence. We keep preparing our students for jobs that are going to be outdated, right? As we progress in globalization and automation, Joe. I mean, many of those jobs that our kids take to a system in paying bills, paying their way through college, they're gonna be gone, Joe. I mean, I'm pretty sure all of our fast food restaurants, they're gonna have probably like two people there, running the whole fast food restaurant, Joe. It's just like, what skills are we providing our students to be able to perform in automotive, society? Because right now, I mean, we talk about telemarketing, telehealth, and stuff like that. I mean, that existed way before COVID. I mean, people were
Hmm.
doing that way before COVID, and people were hiring other individuals to do basically the virtual job, and that's where we're going to move now, Joe. Right? Whenever COVID, whatever all this, government decides to open up and do all that. Many people are going to lose their jobs. There will be a loss in the job market when it comes to the jobs that we were doing in person, because it's cheaper to do it virtually. It can be done virtually, right? So why do I need to hire a person? Or I can hire someone from another country to do the job that I was doing at a lesser rate, right?
Hmm.
We're going to have more at that. So how are we preparing our kids to develop those different skills, right? That they need to function in a virtual space, because we are moving into a virtual era where everything that we will be doing is going to be in a virtual reality, Joe. I think our reality, it's not gonna, it's gonna be virtual, Joe. It's, we're
Right.
gonna, everything's gonna be virtual. I mean, we can pay with our phones, and I'm pretty sure eventually we're gonna be able to vote with our phones, right? And we're going to move into an area where we are competing with machines. So how do we develop our students to be able to think critically, right? Because I mean, we got to think critically. We are creating these autonomous systems, these algorithm systems. I mean, Google. I mean, Elon Musk. I mean, you have Jeff Bezos. All those individuals have always been ahead of the game, and we have to, catch up to that, and understand, is a college degree going to be worth it in the near future, Joe? I think there has been many articles that we talk about. Oh, by this year, many of those fast food jobs are going to require an associate degree. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not going to require anything because they're not going to have a job. They're going to have a machine taking orders, right? They'll probably just have one or two cooks there. But who's gonna, be the cook, right? Is it gonna be a college kid, or is it gonna be an individual that needs that job to feed their family? It's gonna take us to a different, era, Joe. And social media, like your major, is gonna weigh more than the major that I did. I mean, when I was in undergrad, right? But it also leads to, how critical thinking, or how critical our students will become. And that's when we start engaging them at a different level. We're starting coding, starting, and I think liberal arts are still going to be a big thing, Joe. Because they teach you how to be a human being. I think that's what liberal arts schools do good at, teaching you how to be a human being. And we're still going to need humans in the future that
I hope
can,
so, right? Because if not, I'm gonna need some support out there. No, but I mean, no, you hit a really good, some good points, and interestingly enough, like when I look like into pre, right now we live in a place where it's pre and post COVID, right? And post COVID, we're not even in there yet. We're in pre, during and post, but I think pre-COVID, before all of this hit and took off here, at least in the states, which was what, March 2020, spring break and what have you. I want to say that we were already technologically advanced, right? Where technology has always been a part of us, right? I mean, we have our phones that can virtually do anything, and we can work from our phones to an extent, right? But to imagine that, and then being hit with this pandemic, right? And then with so much technology that we already had access to, and the pandemic hitting, like for a lot of us, it was hard to adjust. I'm grateful that for us, like for me personally, and at work, like we were able to switch gears pretty quickly, and I'm sure you were too, right? Like we looked at it like, okay, so we can't be in front of people, in front of students, though. So what can we do? So we moved to the virtual space, and I feel like a lot of organizations were able to flip that, switch that. But even then, like there were still others that still struggled, and then more importantly, our students are struggling with that too, right? So it's like, as much as have access that they have with all this tech and what have you, like at the end of the day, like, it's like, how can we use it efficiently and effectively to do the things that we need to do to, one, get that education across the board, for them to eventually and be that critical student that they need to be, to understand, like, okay, this is the type of job I need, or type of degree rather, that I need in the future. But then I see, but also makes me wonder, like, man, like, what if, obviously, like, when we look at degrees, we look at what degree can we pursue that we are interested in, and that's going to make us the money, right? And I think that's a lot of us have always had the mentality. But going to the point of understanding our passion, like, where, you know at one point, can we start introducing that conversation with our students, and helping them understand, like, hey, this is, let's go ahead and find that passion. What is your passion? What is it that you enjoy doing? And can identify, and then how can we capitalize on that passion, and ultimately make it something that, because I mean, when you think about a job, you think 8 to 5. Some people may or may not be happy, and I think I've been fortunate enough that ever since even when I was doing landscaping, I never landscaping, was manual labor, physical labor, but not for ones that I ever think like, oh man, like, I gotta get up and push this lawnmower all day. Like I actually enjoyed it, I think, and I miss it. I really do as an adult now. But because I did it for most of my life since the age of 8. And so for me, it's like, like that part of me is like landscaping has always been part of my life because it helped me develop my work ethic that then translated over to somewhat of my academics. If Miss Mac, Mama, if you're listening to this, you're obviously gonna be like, well, I don't know if you bled all the way through a calculus AB. but it definitely, it married my educational experience for sure, and things of that nature. And so, like, I'm just like, interesting enough to see like when at what point can we also, as we're helping our students identify what it is that what is this plan that they need, also like really sit down and take the time to understand their needs, right? Because I think like one thing, one huge disservice that we're seeing, and it's gonna, and it's a reason, I want to say one of the reasons why we have those like those attainment rates of post-secondary education, so going backwards, is because of that. It's like we focus so much on getting the student in that we don't focus so much on developing the student. Because by the time, oftentimes, and this may have been the case with us. I remember, I didn't know, how to get to college or what to do in college until we started going to events like Llaves del Éxito, or being exposed to. But even then, like, those conversations didn't happen till junior year, maybe at the earliest for us, right? And it wasn't, for me at least, I know for me for sure, and it wasn't until senior year that I actually took it seriously. Like, oh, well, like, I guess college is going to be a thing that I'm going to do. That was the first time I visited. I think we went together down to A&M, right? Like, we went to A&M, and also, you were you on the trip to UT, right? Like, because we took two, yeah,
Probably.
yeah, I think both of us, we both went to those same trips to A&M and UT, to visit those. And it was in senior year, man. I've known, people that when I talk to them, they're like, oh yeah, like I visited my first campus when I was in seventh grade, eighth grade. And I'm like, whoa, like that's like a huge hit, head of the ball game, right? And so I sometimes I wish, like, what can we do? It's not. I guess I'm definitely, it's a rhetorical question because I think we know what we can do, because we've been doing it. But I think it's like it's a good question to ask. Like, what are some of the things that we can actually start doing to help our students identify that, to understand, identify that passion, and then that passion translating to, degrees or what have you, but then also ultimately also address these concerns about automation, globalization, and understanding that, because I mean, I think we've had this ever since, technology has always been involved, is that, because I even remember when 10 years ago, at least in 2009, we were looking at, we could read the reports or articles saying that some jobs or some degrees are going to be outdated in 5-10 years, right? And I think as every year as we progress, these these time frames are becoming much less. So, like, it feels as almost as every year, institutions have to be updating their curriculum to keep up. Like, oh, what is the new, what are the one, what is the hot new thing that's going on right now? How can we incorporate that into a degree, and how can we offer that degree? But then, two, what is it in our degrees or in our curriculum that it's outdated, by these, subject experts, that exist or are in the field, and for them to tell us, okay, so this is actually what they need, what they look at, when they're doing, we're looking at someone that has a business degree, or an emerging media degree, or an arts degree, or what have you. So I think those are, definitely valid. And I think COVID has opened a lot of eyes across the board of understanding, the needs of our students, but then also, like, are we doing enough? And I think, I mean, I don't think we can ever answer that question, whether we were in a pandemic or not.
Yeah. No, I mean this money hungry institutions, of course, they open their minds because they're losing money. That's the only reason why they open their minds, not because they care about
Right, capitalism, I
yeah
think,
the
right.
future of our kids. Yeah, it's just no joke. But I mean, what you said is really understanding our kids. And I've said that many times in different conversations in my job, right? They talk about what can we do, and my answer is always understand the kids. Understand who you want to serve, right? Because they're not serving you, right? I mean, it's just because the kid is in your program, it's not benefit. It shouldn't be a benefit of you. I mean, what you do should benefit the kid. And like you said, we got to understand, what this kid is passionate about. What is this kid good at, right? And then from there, I mean, we have to be realistic with the kids, right? I mean, if they want to, get major in psychology, right? We got to tell them, hey, just letting you know that your bachelor's in psychology is not going to be good. You need to go and pursue your masters, right? And be realistic in the society that the kids will be going into, right? And I mean, we talk about different degrees that are worthless. I mean, they're worthless if you don't have a plan, like you said, Joe, right? And I mean, a degree is not worthless unless you don't have a plan. I mean, if you just go like me, I mean, I always say I got a BS degree, right? But I learned in A&M, and then I went and got my a master's in what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
um but if you want to get a bachelor's in biology, right, before you get there, have a plan of why is it that you want to get a bachelor's degree in biology, right? And it's okay to change it. I mean, everyone would change it. But I think we're coming into a different society, Joe, and um a society where I think will be the same as in the past, Joe. Like, right, in the past, people heard about each other through the radio. People heard about each other through television, and I think that's our society. We will hear about each other through the phone. I think we'll. And I want to be wrong, Joe, but I feel that that's the way we're moving it. And I mean, this new generation has been brought up in that environment, Joe, in that. And those that have had success, they had always had access to that technology, right? In our communities, Joe, we always said, yeah, our kids have access to this. I mean, that showed that they never did, right?
Mhm.
That showed that the people that said they were leading our community, those community leaders in Dallas ISD, in the surrounding areas that said that they were for our community, it showed that they weren't, Joe. COVID exposed, and I mean, it's sad to say, but COVID exposed how they were doing in their communities, Joe. And I mean, to me, I'm happy that that showed, right? Because we can learn and grow from that, right?
Mhm.
When we talk about our kids didn't have Wi-Fi, dude. It's like, I mean, I'm pretty sure we knew that, Joe. I'm pretty sure
Oh no,
we
definitely.
knew that our kids didn't have Wi-Fi, right? But we not complain and crying, oh, woe me, woe them. We knew that, but we didn't do anything because we didn't care. We are, like you said, capitalists. We are driven by power and control, right? We can't control our own people. We have to help and grow our own people, right? And by saying they have something and they don't, I mean, we're doing them a disservice, Joe. I mean, but like that was crazy, Joe. And I mean, I knew that was gonna happen, Joe. I knew many of those kids, and look at what's happening right now. They are not performing, Joe, at a rate that they. Well, I mean, it's hard, Joe. I mean, I'm pretty sure I would have dropped out of college if I went my undergrad all virtual, Joe. I mean,
For sure.
I succeeded with my master's, but because I already knew a little bit about myself, how to study. So of course I had success with my master's degree being all virtual. But I think I would have dropped out quicker if
No
I had.
man, I don't, those conversations that we had leading up to even making it to the spring, like just to survive, man. I think it would have been a different ball game for sure if everything was virtual. For sure, if going to where we're going, and it's because again those underlying things that I mean, even for me, like I want to say I didn't get internet access until maybe I was. Oh man, like I want to say maybe a senior, just because my sister was coming around and she was needing it more. So like, okay, there was a need. And again, it wasn't a part, and the reason why we didn't have access was just because there wasn't a need. Like I had access at home, and I mean, I had access in the at at the high school at Adamson, right? So I would just get there early, leave later, or go to my local library, right? And sometimes we'd even make it inside. We have to be outside waiting for I remember having to type in your code, and it's like, oh, your appointment is in an hour from now. And so it's like, all right, so we either wait around or in the library and what have you, and get access to it. But it's interesting, that you bring that, because you bring that up because I mean it's true. Like we see that our students have been able to be successful before COVID hit. Our students were being successful in some shape or form by the resources that they had, with the resources that they had access to, and the lack of resources, right? When COVID hits, it's like, oh snap, like, wait, you've been performing this well in school, but you didn't have access to Wi-Fi. You didn't even, and X, Y, and Z. And so it's like it shows that, like, that our students, I mean, we could make it. Just having access, like we're not asking people to come save us. Our students are not asking that. Our students are not asking for a handout or whatever it wants to be labeled by the dominant culture, whatever they want to label it as. All we want for our community is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Just give us a shot to make it happen. And trust me, like, our students are far more than capable to do and accomplish anything and everything they set their minds to it. And I went with this, like, on my end. Like, I remember my first, I want to say my first or second semester, I was taking already classes in my degree. And I remember, at the beginning, like at the first two classes, my professor was asking us questions about, oh, and I think we covered this in our, and like two episodes ago, about,
I was gonna say that too,
yeah, the
Joe.
poor,
Keep
right? Yeah,
going.
the poor kids eso, and the exact same thing about access to internet. Like, they were asking, like, how many of you had access in high school, to internet? And everybody raises their hand. They're asking about these things, cable, internet, and X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I didn't have access to it if I needed it. I mean, I had access to it at school. Like, I can go to Adamson, the library, what have you. I remember, and I think I mentioned, like, I remember I used to have those AOL discs. They give you 1,000 hours, X, Y, and Z, and all that good stuff. And so, it's,
They
and
could go
right,
for free, Joe. They
for
were
free, yeah,
people. Some people gave those out for free. I don't know for
exactly.
what, but
But man, either that or they showed up in my mailbox, man. That's all I
yeah,
remember. I just, they used to show up on there. But it was interesting because, like, that was, for me, that was 10 years ago, right? And guess what? We're in 2020, and our students are still going through the exact same things. Not have the lack of resources, and not because they don't, that they themselves, it's like, oh, like, I'm not capable of having it. It's like, there's, whether it's equity, whatever you want to call it, or oftentimes, our students, they're, we have priorities. Like, for me, my dad, one of the reasons why he said, or I remember one of the reasons why when we talked about it was, oh, like, oh, there's no need for it. Like, I mean, if you need internet, go to the library or go to, you have it at school. But, we're not gonna add another bill. It wasn't until, like, okay, now your sister needs it too. There's two of you. Okay, now there's a need. And then even then, like, I remember, pushing forward is like, no, because, like, I mean, my sister's gonna, I mean, she's definitely gonna use it. Like, 4 years, like, that's four, and, like, there's no way. And this was already 2009. So by 2013, obviously, she, I remember we had dial up. So, you always, and I think all of us had dial up, remembers, the dialing number, all that. You can use it when you're on the phone and X, Y, and Z. But it was just interesting, seeing that it's 2020 and our students are going through the exact same thing. And it's because, we're, again, like, I don't think no one could ever be prepared for a pandemic. But also, I think people that were advocating that our students had the resources to be successful, obviously, that was not true. What is the Maury show says, like, according to tests, the results came in, and it
that's
shows
a
that
lie.
that is a lie. And but, and I think that's interesting. And and so, and I think our students, especially now, whether they're freshmen, sophomore, juniors, or seniors, or even college students right now, they're learning to be successful in a pandemic, and therefore they're developing skills that they're going to be so much valuable, that no degree is going to be able to provide that for them. Because they're adapting, they're getting things done. My supervisor says, and also a good friend, he mentions, like, like, in our resumes, man, we're content creators, we're
Yeah,
producers, we're social media managers, we're again content, all of that good stuff, like that, all of those skills, we're developing because we're in a place where we have to, and then that's the way that we're reaching out to our students. Because I don't even know what the latest numbers were in terms of, like, I know at the beginning, like, I don't know if it was Richardson was having a struggle of connecting students. There was a huge amount of students that hadn't connected online. And even I think I have a friend of mine that he also mentions, like, in this, he teaches dual credit. um he teaches dual credit and also college classes and what have you. And he says a little bit more than roughly about half of his students have yet to log in to the classroom online.
yeah,
Or, and it's like, and that it's so, and because, like, we felt, a lot of people felt to understand that, yes, we're in a pandemic, yes, we're home, but there's a lot of responsibility still here, right? So if you have somebody that has siblings, and there's two, three people that have to, they're in a grade where they have to, be on Zoom or what have you, there probably is going to be one device only.
yeah.
Granted, some districts, some programs are offering, Chromebooks and all that, and great. but guess what? They probably have a younger sibling that they have to take care of because mom or dad is working, both are working.
Yeah.
So you have, or an older a sibling, or a grandma, grandpa, somebody that, there's all these things. And to think that we can just blindly be like, oh yeah, class is here, let me go ahead and shut the world at home. If I'm in a class and my mom were to walk in and like, Mijo, I
My
need you to do
mom's the
X, Y, and
boss.
Z. Yeah, hey, my mom, exactly. Mom is the boss, and don't get me wrong, she definitely values, our parents, our students' parents value education for sure. Because if they didn't, trust me, that student would not be logged in at all. But yeah, we value that. They value education, but at the same time, there's life. Life, it's what's it's hitting at home. And I think there's a lot of leaders, a lot of people in leadership that are not understanding that. And we're in November, and numbers are going back up in X, Y, and Z. And so it's going to be interesting to see what districts do, moving forward with that. But man, like, if we have any students out there listening right now, whether you're in high school or college, like, man, or even adults, even us as adults, more power to you, to all of us. Because man, like, we're in a pandemic and having to do everything that we're having to do. And still trying to live as well, for
It's
sure.
how much survival. But Joe, I feel like they had 15 years to
Oh,
fix
for
this
sure.
internet, this connectivity, dude. It's like I mean, and learn. I mean, I know you don't want to, use the same models as private schools, as Catholic schools, as charter schools, but they've been giving out computers for a while. And when they give those computers, they give internet. I mean, I remember my little sister at Cristo Rey, they gave her a computer, they
Mm.
gave her internet access, they gave her internships as a freshman. Like, dude,
Ooh.
what the hell? It's like, I mean, that's why I'm for school choice. I mean, if this district ain't doing right, I mean, either we fire everybody, we clean the whole system, we drain the swamp.
But
But
bumps,
yeah,
right?
but like, I mean, look, and it goes back to what we're saying, Joe. It's because they don't know our kids. They don't know the communities, Joe. It's like, they some of those leaders that we have, Joe, they love public education so much that they send their kids to private schools because they don't want their kids to take advantage of the opportunities. It's like, dude, come on, man. If you think public schools are so great, send your kids to our schools. And once
Come
you
to our
understand,
neighborhoods, right?
yeah, once you understand, this system, you'll be like, hold up, you know,
Wait a minute.
we need to change some. Yeah, wait a minute, we need to change some. And it's like we just every year excuse after excuse after excuse. And we got to take accountability for our own actions. I mean, we can't just be electing people just to elect them and have them complain. I mean, if we elect a person, we expect them to try and fix something, right? I mean, not try, but actually fix something. And like, imagine if they already took that concept as public other schools, Joe. I mean, every single kid would have had access to a computer. They would have access to internet. And I mean, I feel like internet should be a utility. I mean,
Oh,
just
for
like
sure. Like, I
water
mean,
and
yeah.
electricity. I mean, dude, we have a lot of, we talk about rich people and taxing. Rich people say, yeah, tax me a lot, dude. Give that money to to the communities. Quit saying that. You get taxed a lot. I don't care about the money going to the government because the government don't give a crap about our people. Give those money to people that really need it, man. Like, I mean, that's what the thing that I don't understand, Joe. Like, if I was a millionaire, I mean, I'm gonna be like, yeah, tax me. Like, what the hell how is that tax money gonna
Yeah.
benefit the community,
Like,
dude? Like,
instead, get a tax write off,
yeah,
donate it
like,
to some other organization doing great work, and we will appreciate it and ensure that our people is getting access to that money,
yeah,
right?
it's
Or
like,
not
dude,
access, but access to those resources that that are going to help. No, but you're right. Like, I think, like, it's it's just again, it's interesting because, like, man, like, it's 2020, and we're seeing that a lot of the lack of resources. So man, it's
yeah,
again, like, I think, mm, you know we we have to do like the best that we can as individuals, but also work as a collective, because at the end of the day, like, what is that famous saying, like, it takes a village, right?
yeah,
So, and I think we've seen that a lot more now. And again, like, we, even with COVID, with hitting our communities hard, like, we've seen a lot of these organizations doing the work. And so we appreciate that for sure.
shout out
you
to
know
Frank.
Right, exactly right. And so, those are some of the things that we have to keep, like, that people have to keep in mind. And so, man, like, at the end of the day, like, man, it's about accountability. We talk about how politicians and all of this. Like it goes at the from the national level, from the top all the way to the very local. And I think you mentioned this, like, you know, we had an offline conversation about accountability. You mentioned like, yeah, we can keep them accountable by going to these board meetings, talking, listening and talking out loud and asking like, why is X, Y, and Z? And I feel like we see that a lot. You know, we see that, but we need more of that. We need more of our community to be at those meetings, you know, whether city council or Dallas ISD board meetings and what have you, and then talking, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, you know, they're elected to represent us, and for some, you know, some of those board members may be removed, you know, far removed from what's actually going on, and some others, you know, are products of this district, of the district that they're representing, right? And so I think um that's something to definitely keep in mind for sure, because man, like it's you know, we just can't be in the same position 5 years from now, right? And be like, oh well, like, you know, numbers, you know, we won't be able to point fingers and like, oh, it was because of COVID. Like, nah, it was already happening, it was already going downhill before COVID for sure.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, how this existed way before. Well, bro, yeah, we're just letting y'all know we're gonna run for some political office in the near future. So vote for
No,
vote for
right,
Pedro.
right, it's like this is
Nah, bro, they won't
for
want us, Joe. They won't want us. They're too afraid of our accountability. They're too afraid of the change that we'll create. And I mean, that's the thing about it, right? People are afraid of change, but I mean, you know, it's we are messing with the livelihood of people, Joe, with the
Mhm.
future of people, and I think we still don't understand that, and it saddens me that we don't understand that. You know, it's a human being, Joe. Like going back to the conversation we had about, you know, Frank sharing. It's, you know, at the end of the day, we are human beings. You know, we
Mhm.
have things going on, and I am I'm praying that the district takes all that into consideration, everything that is going on, because, you know, this is coming to light so we can grow as a community, Joe. Right?
Mhm.
We are seeing more of the issues that our kids are having at home, and you know, them not logging on, it shows that there is something going on at home, right? So, you know, what is going on at this community, right? Why are their parents struggling so much? What different resources we need to give? Because like we sometimes we treat every minority group the same, Joe, right? But it's different, right? People in Oak Cliff are different from people in South Oak Cliff, right? People from South Oak Cliff have different needs than people in Oak Cliff, in Highland
Mhm.
Park, etc., right? And if we take the time to truly understand the different sectors of Dallas and the different needs of those individuals, we can help them the way they need, right? We can't say that, DFW needs X, Y, and Z. I mean, that's really that's going to you know, we go back to the equity thing, right? If you treat everyone the same, let's say if I don't need it, but you do, but you still give it to me, it's still gonna put me at more an advantage than you
Yeah.
are, right? You're still gonna be trailing behind, right? If this certain, you know, school doesn't need this money, I'm not gonna give them anything, right? I'm gonna give that money to this community that needs it, and it's just, you know, we need to start diving deeper into that, joint. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I want to get into, right? You know, really looking at, are people being successful, having an impact in the community that they say they're serving, Joe? And you know, I think whenever we start calling our own local officials, I think, you know, that's when, you know, they'll start improving, Joe. And I think we should, right? I think we should create different community boards out, because I mean, I feel like this community boards that are created are just people with the same thinking, right? They're never going to challenge them because they're afraid. I mean, we need to stop being afraid of these people. I mean, they're just human beings. What's the worst they can do, right? They'll go to jail if they try to do some,
Right,
if they
right,
try to
yeah.
attack, because they will call the cop, you know, call the cops on you, or you know, or what the other people say. Yeah, I got my right, you know, come to my house. No, but I
Mm.
mean, you know, we have to create those community. You know, we have to bring different people that have different thinking, different ideas, because that's when we truly grow. We cannot, you know, diversity is a we have to have diversity of thought, Joe. I mean, we
Mhm.
just can't have different people that look different, right? I mean, and if we have different people that look different thinking the same, I mean,
That's
that's not diverse to me. That's just people looking different.
That defeats the whole
And
purpose for
yeah,
sure.
I mean, we want people that look different, right? That act different, that come from different backgrounds and think differently. Because whenever we think differently, I might say something that you didn't think about, and vice versa. You might say something like, "Oh, I didn't think about that." Like, so you're telling me that this community didn't have this? Wait, why not, right? And me asking those dumb questions, or those privileged questions, quote unquote, will make us realize that, wait, the person that was in your position, he laundered that money, or he took that money,
Mm.
and we should throw this person in jail. Right? Person keeps getting elected, and it's just those type of things, right? But we need not be afraid of the truth, right? We need to challenge that, because I mean, you know I talked a lot, right, Joe?
Nah,
You got to
bro,
shut me
no,
up, Joe. You got to
no,
shut me up.
no. It's like no. I think
Don't
it's
let this hair distract you.
Bru- no, it's important to have those conversations because like it's again like those are tough conversations and again like you mentioned like a lot of like if man like if keeping like accountability, I think that's something that's like very difficult for people because like it's like constructive criticism, right? Like it's constructive criticism, it's constructive, like it's meant to help us grow and what have you, and I think that's something that a lot of orgs are a lot of people are afraid to tell these orgs for whatever reason. So I think that's something that we definitely have to look at. But I think ultimately, like at the end of the day, like we always have to remember that the people that we ultimately are held accountable to are going to be our students and our community because there is their livelihood, it's their future that is being affected and impacted by whatever decisions we end up deciding, whatever ends up coming out of them, whether good, bad, or ugly, or different, or whatever the case may be. And I think that's something to definitely keep in mind that at the end of the day, everything and anything that we do has to be for them, and our community and our people, right? And so, and I think that that's ultimately the last, like, that's something to definitely take away, because I mean, if they are our future, man, like they are, like if we don't provide a support system for them, then they're going to fall in the same cycle that we did, or even our parents. It's a huge accomplishment when we're able to break a generational cycle, right? But once we break the generational cycle from the first generation to the second generation, it's easy. That second generation, it's very very easy for them to go to the next, keep on moving back, and it's also as easy to return back, where it all started. And unfortunately that's not what we want. We want to be able to progress, to keep moving, to keep pushing forward, and we have to, accountability is going to be is the way to do it. For those, and these are for the adults, for us, I need to be able to people to come to my students to tell me like, hey, you didn't do X, Y, and Z, or my supervisor, or I should be able to go to my supervisor as well, like as you to you, to be like, hey, like man, like we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, or hey, we're doing exactly where we need to be, and we have to push it forward, especially in times like this. So I think that's a good segue into to just kind of like wrapping, and ending this this conversation, because I think again, like ultimately we want everybody to understand, like we're, man, like we have to do the work, putting in the work despite what's going on, like people like Frank are doing what they need to do and following their passion, right? And we can do that. And so it's funny because like I feel like we jumped around, right, like to different topics and whatnot, but they're all interconnected with one another, because it's like it affects, because there's a reason why we all struggled in our educational experience, in our educational career, why we struggled professionally and personally, and so there's some things that that just weren't right. We weren't in the in the space for them to be successful. And now as adults, like you mentioned, like I know for a fact that had I had to do my first semester of college virtually, I would not make it, man. I do, man, even to this day I don't have
Tech
discipline,
dropouts.
right? Like yeah, like exactly, like I would not have had the discipline. I still don't have the discipline, as an adult, and I'm nearing 30, but I don't
Dang,
have that,
Joe.
right? Oh man, I'm getting old. But yeah, so it's just, it's one of those things. So like it's silly to expect that of our students, and when there's, I know there's I'm not the only one for sure as an adult, but it definitely takes time. But I think it's like we're also rushing up against time to make that happen. So any final thoughts?
No, just like you said earlier, just keep pushing, keep pushing, and where you believe in, whatever your belief system, you just keep doing that, but just keep pushing through, and don't forget that we are all human beings, and help out, as much as you can. I mean, right now, just help out. Let's all help out, help each other
Help
out,
help
and
Yeah,
yeah.
we have to do it. It takes a village. So yeah, so I think that's it. So again, thank you all for joining us for Between Two Borders. Again, my name is Joe Posada,
Anacleto Contreras.
and it's been a pleasure to have y'all with us again today. And we'll stay safe out there, and just try to stay as following those guidelines and try to stay safe with your family. And I hope everybody it's doing what they need to do, and also taking time to reflect and reset and and keep going. So thank you all, and enjoy the rest of y'all's evening, day or week and month.
Whatever time you listen to this.
Whatever time you're listening to this, I hope you enjoy the rest of those minutes, seconds, and time. Deuces.